Ever feel like life has you stuck on pause? Not broken, but not moving forward either. Maybe you're waking up in a life that doesn't look like anything you planned. A relationship has cooled, a career path has fizzled, faith feels different. Or maybe it's not one big crisis, but a slow, quiet drift that's left you wondering, is this it? We all hit moments when the mountain or momentum stops and the questions start about who we are, where we're going, and whether we still matter. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. And you're not without hope. And today's message is for everyone who's ready to begin again. Not by fixing everything, but by letting God meet you right where you're feeling stuck. Here's our big idea for today. Sometimes the biggest enemy of our tomorrow is something we're doing today, and it needs to end for us to get there. You know, the book of Ecclesiastes is traditionally attributed to King Solomon, the son of David, and the third king of Israel. But this attribution is based on this opening verse. Quote, the words of the teacher, son of David, king of Jerusalem. Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 1. Now this word teacher or preacher that it refers to there is actually the Hebrew word for collector of sentences. It means somebody who takes thoughts and ideas and considers them very deeply, a mystic who reflects on life and work and pleasure. Such is the book of Ecclesiastes. And in the third chapter, we have an opportune time to stop and reflect on a number of things that we all experience in life. And this mystic is really thinking heavy and reflecting and saying, wow, what about this and what about that? Listen to his words. I'll start in verse 2 of chapter 3. A right time for birth and another for death. A right time to plant and another to reap. A right time to kill and another to heal. There's a right time to destroy and another to construct. A right time to cry and another to laugh. A right time to lament and another to cheer. A right time to make love and another to abstain. A right time to embrace and another to part. There's a right time to search and another to count your losses. A right time to hold on and another to let go. A right time to rip out and another to mend. There's a right time to shut up and another to speak up. A right time to love and another to hate. A right time to wage war and another to make peace. What's he really talking about? I wonder if he's not telling us that all of time is held in seasons. And not every season is the same. And we can't expect life to be an even keel, and that everything we encounter is full of blessing and joy and peace, and it's just a steady line of victory in Jesus. Quite to the contrary, the biggest threat to our future might not be what's coming. It might be what we're holding on to today. Doesn't make it wrong, whatever it is that you're holding on to. It's just time for change. Now, Jesus provides us a similar dialogue and teaching in the book of John, the Gospel, in chapter 15. Listen to his words and see if you don't find that there's some similarity. John chapter 15, I begin reading in verse 1 from the Passion Translation. I am a true sprouting vine, and the farmer who tends the vine is my Father. He cares for the branches connected to me by lifting and propping up the fruitless branches and pruning every fruitful branch to yield a greater harvest. The words I have spoken over you have already cleansed you. Now, it's important to note that this Greek phrase, he takes to himself the fruitless branch. In some translations, the branches not bearing fruit, he casts away into the fire. This passage has always been used by many in the pulpit, especially Protestants and especially evangelicals, to preach a judgment of God if you're not keeping up, if your life isn't fruitful, if you're not disciplined, if you're not really red hot for the Lord and following Christ passionately, then he's going to take you out of the vine and throw you away. That's not what he's saying. And if you take a look at the Greek for this phrase, that he takes the vine that's not, or the branch that's not bearing fruit, it actually says, he takes up to himself every fruitless branch. He doesn't remove the branches, but he takes them to himself. And the wise and loving farmer, he lifts them up off of the ground to enhance their growth. So a farmer knows that when there's a lattice work or a vineyard full of branches, that they'll get heavy and they'll get burdened and they'll bend over and they'll begin to just droop and touch the ground. Well, the farmer doesn't come in and lop off the ones that aren't bearing fruit. He knows that they're not bearing fruit because they're stifled. They're holding on. They're hunched over. So what the farmer does is he lifts the branches up off of the ground and he brings them to himself and he ties them up so that they can breathe again. He gets them up off of the ground, brings them to himself, and begins to breathe life into them. In this context, it's Christ's endless love for his disciples. On his last night on the earth, when he spoke this, where he's emphasizing God's love, even for those who fail and disappoint him. Peter's denial didn't bring rejection from Jesus. It brought exception from the Christ. Loving embrace, loving embrace in Peter's failure. So, contrary to popular teaching, God is not looking for your fruitlessness so that he can cut you out. If he finds us in trouble and not breathing and not being fruitful, he lifts us to himself. But there may be a change in season coming. You see, the biggest threat to your future might not be what's coming, but what you're still holding on to today. Let me give you 4 growth barriers that God wants to prune. Each of these represents a sticky place, something that clings, it delays us, it distorts growth. And these aren't just feelings, they're patterns that the Christ looks for, that he longs to lift up and to prune so that we can move forward. All right, number 1. Unhealed narratives. You'll hear it like this, quote, "This happened to me, so this is who I am now," end quote. How many of us have defined ourselves by something that happened a long time ago, or even last week, and now that becomes our new way of thinking about ourselves. That's the way I am. I find myself stepping or stumbling into that, where then my self-talk becomes negative and I begin to accuse myself and talk down to myself. Have you ever done that? It's an unhealthy and unhealed narrative. Too often we let those past events write our identity in permanent ink. But what Christ does when he lifts us up is he prunes those things, refusing to let our worst day become our defining story. Isaiah addresses this in chapter 43. He says, "Do not cling to events of the past." Sometimes we have to practice that daily. Don't cling to things of the past. It might be a phone conversation you just had earlier that morning, and you've got to give that thing up. Don't allow unhealed narratives to define you. Number 2, comfortable dysfunction. It goes like this. It's not ideal, but at least I know how to live with it. Comfortable dysfunction. When we adapt to toxic routines or relationships just because they're familiar, we risk forfeiting healing for the illusion of stability. This is such a trap. We accept the status quo instead of moving, instead of letting Jesus lift us up and heal that thing and move us out of that dysfunction. We hang, we can't breathe, and we accept comfortable dysfunction because we're familiar with that. We've always done it that way. Number 3, spiritual apathy masquerading as maturity. It sounds like this, quote, "I've already done the hard work. I know the answers. I'm good." It's the enemy of transformation. It's our sense of arrival. I'm there. I'm cool. Got this. I've prayed about that. We're good. Or I wouldn't want to admit that that's going on. And so I'm good. No. And really it's masquerading that we're mature. Everything's cool, but we've actually adopted, like in number 2, a toxic routine. And the enemy of transformation is our sense of arrival. So, what's helpful there is when he says he prunes every branch, is to realize our lives are daily being pruned through a process of the Savior's love. Not to judge us, but to lift us. He's pruning us constantly to help us move forward. And number 4, buts. Yes, buts. Waiting for somebody. You know your but will keep you stuck? It goes like this. I'll get to it when. We often delay. We give excuses. We're waiting for a better timing, clearer signs, a more favorable condition. But faith matures in movement and change and mystery, not getting stuck where you're at. Opportunities thrive in a culture of curiosity and change. Ecclesiastes says in chapter 11, verse 4, "Whoever watches the wind will not plant." Isn't that good? Whoever watches. It is going on the 3rd week of May, and I still have not seeded my lawn, fertilized for green grass, or killing the weeds. The de facto standard rule of thumb is that you turn your sprinklers on at least by Mother's Day. Well, that's come and gone. And you know why? Because I've been looking for the perfect time to get out there, to dig, to shovel, to spread, to get the water system turned back on. And here it is. And on my block, my lawn is the brownest. I want you to look at something here. Go ahead.
I got a big butt. It's gigantic, if I'm going to be blunt about it. And you know what? The funny thing is, I got several big butts. And before you discard me or wince at the disgusting notion of that, I'm going to go out on a limb here and suggest that possibly you have at least one big butt as well. Yeah, you like that? Hurts a little, huh? Let me tell you something. Let me just tell you something, okay? Everybody we know has a big butt. And more often than not, it's the thing that actually gets in the way of us living a consistent life for Jesus. I think you know what I'm talking about. But I'm going to expound a little bit, okay? See if you can recognize some of these butts. But I have to work more. But my favorite TV show is on. But my kids have practice. But I got to tweet something. But it's such a beautiful day. But I'm just not in the mood. But I deserve a break today. You see, everything kind of interferes with my life of just living an authentic life for God, okay? And more often than not, it always has something to do with some sort of butt, okay? Even the littlest of butt can distract me. It really can. The littlest butt can make me think, well, I'm not going to pray today. I'm not going to think about it today. I'm not going to deny myself. I'm not going to read the Bible, blah, blah, blah. Whatever God asked me to do, I seem to have a butt for it and get away, okay? And the most horrendously big butt of all time is the butt that gets in the way of me just hanging out with God and reading His Word. It's true. Think about it. All the times you're about to open that, and all of a sudden a big giant butt gets in the way. A butt, much like one of these. But I got a farm bill, but I'm tired, but the game's over, but I read last Tuesday, but I gotta check Facebook, but I don't like Leviticus, but it's too hot in here, but I just don't like books, but I don't understand it, but it's boring. But what does that have to do with me in the 21st century? Those are some ugly butts, people. Let's just call them what they are, ugly. Ugly butts. Okay? And there's a lot more to them, sad but true. Here's a list, although not exhaustive, of some of the most popular butts known to mankind. But I don't have enough money yet. But others will think that I'm a nerd if I carry the Bible. But they won't like me if I talk about Jesus. But I don't know if God will do what I ask. But I just can't get motivated. But I'm afraid. But I don't have all the answers. But the small group is the same night as Monday Night Football. But can't I just let my life speak for itself? But I'm not happy. But that's not my gift. That's the pastor's job. But I don't know how to pray. But I can't believe that. But I don't know where to start. But everybody else is having fun. Butts abound, friend. Butt. Here a butt, there a butt, everywhere a butt. Okay? And the most overused butt of all time, but I just don't have enough time. Really? Oh, come on. We have a lot of butts. God has given us a real simple word. Okay? If we learn it and we share it and we teach it and we live by it, then see, God gets glorified, people benefit, and then we get blessed. That's why we do what we do. That's the why behind the butt. Okay? And ultimately, that's the whole point I'm trying to make here, my fellow butt lovers, is if your butt is bigger than your why, then your butt's too big. Okay, it's time to, metaphorically speaking, snap into a Slim Jim. Okay, let's slap on some spiritual shape-ups and hit the road a little bit so we can just manage the butts a little bit. That's all we're trying to do. That's what we're talking about. Let's minimize the excuses. Let's shrink the butts. Shrink the butts. Say it with me. Shrink the butts. That's what we need to do. And you and I can do that together. We can conquer this. You and I can do it if we start today, okay? I know we can. Let's just do it. No ifs, ands, or... Yeah. I think you get it.
You can't step into tomorrow while clinging to the needs of today. You can't step into tomorrow while clinging to what needs to end today. Do you feel stuck? Do you need a fresh start? Check this. Isaiah chapter 43. Do not cling to events or the past or dwell on what happened long ago. Watch for the new thing. Look, watch for the new thing. Do not cling. Do not dwell. Watch for the new thing I am going to do. Listen to this. It is happening already. Wherever you're stuck, you need to know God is already working in that thing, bringing you into something fresh and exciting and new. but you cannot offer him a bunch of buts. I will make a road through the wilderness, and I'll give you streams of water there. Pastor Mandy said it in the first service, and it caught my attention. I so love this. God is up to something in us. God is up to something in you. You can't step into tomorrow while clinging to what needs to end today.